Hey guys, what's up? Thanks for tuning in to the Two and a Half Takes podcast. Today is March 14th, 2023. If you like what you hear, please drop us a like and subscribe for weekly NFL related news. I'm your host, Brandon, and I'm joined by Tim and Paul. Today, we're covering some of the hottest news out of the opening days of NFL free agency, and wow, has it been a busy few days. Please let us know some of your favorite free agency moves so far down in the comment section below. And with that being said, let's start with the AFC, more specifically the Broncos. Paul, take it away.
All right, free agency has gotten off to a blazing start with several high-caliber players being announced several minutes after the free agency period officially began. Starting off with the AFC here, to recap some of those key signings, the Denver Broncos aim to rebuild their lackluster offensive line and bringing in talent to protect Russell Wilson. Denver began signing guard Ben Powers for a reported 4-year, $52 million deal. Right tackle Mike McGlinchey to a 5-year, $87.5 million deal. They also brought in rising edge rusher Zach Allen for a 3-year, $45.75 million deal with $32.5 million guaranteed. I believe they're looking for Allen to be a replacement to Draymond Jones, who just signed today with the Seattle Seahawks. Staying in the AFC East, my Kansas City Chiefs signed 25-year-old tackle Jawan Taylor to a reported 4-year, $80 million deal, $60 million guaranteed. This deal aims to replace veteran tackle Andrew Wiley, who signed earlier with the Washington Commanders. The Las Vegas Raiders made a rather surprising signing, veteran quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo, to a 3-year, $67.5 million deal. They took this route rather than drafting a rookie quarterback and a rather impressive rookie quarterback class. I think Jimmy is a step down from Derek Carr. But it seemed the franchise was trying to take a step in a different direction after Carr requested a trade. The Los Angeles Chargers had a quiet start to free agency, and then were shell-shocked when star running back Austin Eckler requested a trade after they did not meet terms in a contract extension. Their only notable signing so far was 8-year veteran linebacker Eric Kendricks. They signed him to a 2-year, $8 million deal. Moving to the AFC East, these teams were rather busy for the start of the free agency period. Miami signed quarterback Mike White. Should be a solid backup option in case Tua misses more time. The team also signed veteran linebacker David Long Jr. to a 2-year, $11 million deal. Long Jr. was the second leading tackler for the Tennessee Titans last season. Maybe one of the biggest questions of this offseason: what will Aaron Rodgers do? The future first ballot Hall of Famer requests a weapon the QB wishes to acquire if traded. This list included OBJ, Allen Lazard, who was just signed earlier today, Randall Cobb, and Mercedes Lewis. We're still waiting to hear on the later three of those, but Allen Lazard did sign earlier today, so that's part of his list. The Buffalo Bills have been quiet. The only notable signing they made today was guard Connor McGovern, previously with the Dallas Cowboys. McGovern was signed for a 3-year, $23 million deal, and this should aim to help protect Josh Allen and improve their lackluster interior offensive line.
And that wraps up some of our favorite highlights from the AFC. Now, Tim, kick it off with the NFC.
Yeah, so kicking it off with the NFC, going to the NFC South with the Dirty Bird Atlanta Falcons. They finally started spending some of their rather high cap space in signing superstar free safety Jesse Bates to a 4-year, $64 million deal, along with defensive tackle David Onyemata with a massive 3-year, $35 million deal. So these signings are sure to add a much-needed pass rush and bolster their pretty defeated secondary. They do have some good young corners, so it should help them out. The team also extended their star lineman, Caleb McGarry, and locked in their one of the league's best centers in Chris Lindstrom to a massive 5-year, $105 million contract. The team also signed Taylor Heineke, which is a little bit of a sneaky signing, to a 2-year, $20 million deal to compete with Desmond Ridder for the starting gig or to potentially back him up.
All right, moving along to the NFC North, the Chicago Bears had a very hot start to free agency with their abundance of available cap space being the most in the NFL. First, they started off with bringing in guard Nate Davis. Davis excels in the pass protection, which everyone knows is much needed for the Bears, as to protect for Justin Fields. Fields was sacked a league-leading 55 times last season. The improvement did not stop on just the O-line. The Bears also signed 2 breakout linebackers to replace a void of Roquan Smith. The linebacking duo of TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds looked to anchor the middle of the defense. Both Edwards and Edmonds were signed to long-term contracts that are cheaper if they were to sign Roquan Smith, along with additional Baltimore's second-round pick, a definite upgrade, having 2 young studs for the price of 1. And the new first overall pick holders, Carolina Panthers, were fairly active in the start of free agency. Initially, they brought in center Bradley Bozeman to a 3-year, $18 million deal, and signing safety Von Bell, who's coming off a career year with the Cincinnati Bengals. Bell was signed to a 3-year, $22.5 million deal. The Panthers also signed veteran quarterback Andy Dalton to a 2-year, $10 million deal. Dalton is most certainly will look to be a great mentor to a future number 1 overall selection with his 12 years of NFL experience. Dalton might even start a few games if the team feels their guy needs to sit some time just to adjust to the league.
Alrighty, and going back to the NFC South with the Tampa Bay Bucks, they started off the 2023 offseason in a little bit of a cap woe situation, being well over the cap. They went ahead and traded their starting guard, Shaq Mason, to the Houston Texans for a late-round pick swap and received a 6th-round pick in return. They also were able to resign their starting cornerback, Jamel Dean, to a 4-year, $52 million deal with $26 million of that guaranteed. Off to the losers of this past Super Bowl, the Philadelphia Eagles. They lost a significant amount of their starters, starting off with Javon Hargrave, who in a shocking move is headed to San Francisco on a 4-year, $84 million deal with $40 million guaranteed. They, as Paul mentioned earlier, they not only lost TJ Edwards, but the Eagles have also lost Kazir White, who is off to Arizona on a 2-year, $11 million deal. The Eagles were able to add Rashad Penny to their backfield, who is a great running back when healthy. And they were also able to bring back cornerback James Bradbury and re-sign Jason Kelce. Going to the Dallas Cowboys, their front office finally received some Wi-Fi signal off their yacht and made some offseason moves. With the signing of Donovan Wilson and Leighton Vander Esch, their defense appears to be unchanged from 2022, except for the massive improvement at cornerback 2, with Stephon Gilmore being traded to the Dallas Cowboys for their compensatory 5th-round pick. The New York Giants traded their 3rd-round pick to Oakland for star tight end Darren Waller. Waller, when healthy, is an incredible tight end, but he's coming off of 2 injury-plagued seasons. So if they go ahead and get 2019-2020 Darren Waller, they've definitely won the trade. But if they get a injury-prone tight end who's well into his mid-30s, they will most likely lose that trade. I'm going to start that one over one more time. Sorry.
Okay.
The New York Giants traded their 3rd-round pick to Oakland for star tight end Darren Waller. Waller, when healthy, is incredible, but he's coming seasons. If they get 2019 and 2020 Darren Waller, they've definitely won the trade. They were also able to sign Bobby Okereke to a 4-year, $40 million deal with $22 million guaranteed.
And that wraps up some of our favorite NFC free agency highlights. Some questions I want to pose to wrap up. Lamar Jackson, does anybody make a move for him? He has his, non-conditional, franchise tag. Does anybody try and trade for him? Or does he start next season, I guess, as a Baltimore Raven? What do y'all think?
I do think somebody will try and make an offer for him. It is going to be, you have to have at least 2 first-round picks. So I did find it kind of interesting that the Panthers traded to move up to number 1 rather than spending that 9th overall pick to enter, I guess, the Lamar lottery, essentially. But they are going to have to pay him a contract, so you're kind of hurting yourself in the future, giving up that 2nd overall, or basically 2 first overall picks, and then you got to pay a guy a $200 million contract. So I guess they thought the rookie quarterback route was a better move. But I think a team that's in win now mode, that has a lot of cap space and doesn't necessarily need a first round pick, or maybe has a later first round pick, can definitely make a move for Lamar there.
I was going to say I tend to agree, man. I think that the Ravens are playing this cautiously by placing that non-exclusive franchise tag on him. I think what they are looking for doing is, when they place this non-exclusive franchise tag, not only does that lower his salary, but it also gives Lamar the actual opportunity to go out and meet with teams, which he's technically not scheduled or allowed to do due to the tampering rules until I believe Wednesday. But with that being said, it allows Baltimore to kind of just put all their cards on the table and ask Lamar to go find that deal. If Lamar can find that fully guaranteed contract he's been, very often seeking, the Ravens do have the opportunity to match that deal. If they aren't able to come to terms with that, yeah, we could see Lamar in a different jersey come next year. But I really think it just comes down to, do the owners want to make, the extension of paying a fully guaranteed contract similar to Deshaun Watson? My answer would probably be no, but we'll see what happens, and we'll just have to stay tuned.
Perfect. And one last question I want to pose. Arizona Cardinals, my team. It's a kind of a rebuild team this year. I mean, it completely is a rebuild team this year, but it's a team with some assets that they have value and they have potential to move. Hopkins and number 3 overall pick in the 2023 draft. Do y'all see them making any major moves? Because it's been a relatively conservative offseason for the team.
I do think, if they can find a good trade partner to package both of those and move away from that 3rd overall pick and include DeAndre Hopkins, I think they can get a massive haul for that. I don't know if a team is going to be willing, if the team is looking up to trade up like that, they're not necessarily in a win now mode. They're kind of looking for that franchise quarterback to kind of initially start that free agent or that franchise worth, investing some assets into. So I don't know if they're going to exactly package deal those up, but I think if they do give away Hopkins for a second, and then get another probably 2 first-round picks and a couple of seconds for that 3rd overall pick, especially for a team that there's other teams that need, now that 3 in the top 4, you basically know they're going to draft a quarterback. They are kind of set. I say that hesitantly because they do have Kyler Murray. I know he is hurt, and he has had
there's a big question mark over
lackluster
him.
performance.
It's not a very tall question mark, but it's over his head.
It's a little short question mark, but I think if a team really wants to jump above the Colts, or even the Colts, if they feel like they need to move up one to solidify that quarterback, that top 3 guy that they think, I do think that's something they go to. And they're a team that if they get a guy at 3, they could want Hopkins. They have one to 2 good receivers, but they did lose Paris Campbell in free agency. He is a free agent, so they do need to replace that one other guy. So it could be an option.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it makes perfect sense, and it's a smart move for the Cardinals to look to move down, and also to look to trade DeAndre Hopkins. I think you have teams that are quarterback needy, such as the Colts, where Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon both used to coach for the Eagles this past season. So I could see potential trade down there with the Colts, because right past then, if you're looking along, you have QB needy teams, such as Atlanta, Tennessee, Tampa Bay with Tom Brady's future up in the air, and then Washington. So I think it would make sense for the Cardinals to trade down. However, I do know that they do have their eyes on some of the best, defensive talent in the draft. And so I think it just kind of comes to, the condition of, do they really think that, this defensive a player like a Will Anderson or Jalen Carter or Tyree Wilson is really going to be the impact that helps improve their team and, really becomes an overall defensive superstar, such as a Nick Bosa or potential Micah Parsons.
Perfect. And it sounds like that wraps up this week's episode of 2.5 Takes. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. If you'd like to hear more, once again, like and subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. Feel free to comment below and give us some of your takes on this week's episode, and let us know some of your favorite free agency moves so far. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and have a great rest of y'all's week.